Hey Jack,
Yeah?
why are we starting this episode in the graveyard?
Oh, we're talking about moms this month.
Okay, and
We're talking about moms in anime.
okay.
Yeah.
A lot of Disney moms here too, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Is this in bad taste?
Nah, I'm sure it's fine. You don't want to go to a place where all the Pixar moms are.
Well, I mean, there'd certainly be a lot more higher mounds of dirt there.
That's true. Alright, well, I mean, it's that time of year, everybody.
Yep.
Happy Mother's
Happy
Day
Mother's
for
Day,
anyone.
O-Tōkushō.
For any mothers listening, which I highly doubt for so many different reasons.
Happy Mother's Day from my mom, who only tangentially knows that I watch anime, and that's about it.
And happy Mother's Day to my mom, who I hope never actually listens to anything I make. My mother still believes that I don't curse. Yeah, I know. We're not ripping off that Band-Aid anytime soon.
So pretty uneventful in terms of manga chapters, at least from what I've read. First of all, we were bad boys and we posted last episode late. And also in between last week and then the week before, it was Golden Week. So I think it was anyway, and that's why there was no chapters.
Of the things that I read that did have chapters, they weren't Japanese, so that makes sense.
There is a new One Piece chapter that is coming out. It should be out by the time this episode comes out, I think. Chapter 1114, The Wings of Icarus. Kinemon is the favor he's asking of Yamato is to deliver, I think, Yasuge's sword back to his house as like a bit of a tribute sort of thing.
Who's that guy?
He's the Afro guy, sort of laughing merchant that Zoro was like friends with.
Oh, okay. Wait, they brought us all the way here? Damn. Okay.
But yeah, we get it's a lot of reactions from around the world. The Marines are kind of freaking out. Akainu, he doesn't seem angry. He's almost just like disappointed.
Yeah, he's dad angry. Although it kind of gives off abusive father energy really hard.
And that's for next month? I don't know when Father's Day is.
We're doing a video on abusive dads.
I mean, there's a lot of stock in anime for that. Yeah, we see Mocktown and they're being stupid assholes as usual. Water 7, they're like, oh shit, the whole world's like this? Damn, this sucks. We can't catch a break. We see Doflamingo again, and he's like, hey Magellan, why don't you let us out so we don't fucking drown? And Magellan's like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
They all deserve to die. It's fine. They're also already below sea level anyway. They're underwater by like 2 miles. The fuck? But okay, sure.
Fishmen aren't like too concerned. They're just like, is that really gonna happen? He's like, eh. The Gorosei are fucking pissed, naturally.
To be fair, the Fishman's reaction would have been very different had Hody won.
They're gonna come to us? Hell yeah. And Vegapunk, like, in the message, he, like, mentions the earthquake and the sea level, and everyone's like, what the fuck? He knew that was gonna happen? Gives some legitimacy besides, like, the whole, this dude just died and, like, he's trying to, cause panic.
Also to anyone who may have been, like, a doubter as well. Not just the, like, oh, it's a publicity stunt. Literally, like, oh, we hear he's, like, the best scientist in the world, but what does that really mean? And then dude just, like, predicts, things like Nostradamus? Yeah, like Nostradamus.
We see Saturn knocks back the Straw Hats that were fighting him, and he finds the Mother Flame, which is just, like, this big tank. Holds, like, a fire inside of it.
So basically nuclear fusion.
Pretty much. It's like super detailed and like it kind of reminds me of. I was gonna say like a My Hero panel, but like honestly, it kind of looks like a lot of the stuff that was like the really detailed Punk Hazard like panels.
Oda likes drawing tech. He doesn't get a chance to very often though, but he likes it. One of his greatest inspirations was Toriyama. I mean, still is technically, but you know what I mean. Toriyama's gone, but like one of Toriyama's signature things was his incredibly detailed like tech as well. Man liked drawing machines. And bikes.
He liked bikes a lot.
He really liked motorcycles. I mean, they are cool.
We get more, like, Vegapunks talking about the Void Sentry now, and we get a kind of interesting panel here. We see, like, a lot of the older Celestial Dragons, like, hey, what the fuck? Somebody killed this guy. And then we see Charlos' sister, Saint Shalaria. She's like, what the fuck? The Void Sentry? What's that? Yeah.
That's actually kind of interesting.
That, like, they didn't tell their kids about this? Really? I mean, I guess that like, they're starting to just, like, not tell them.
That means whatever they actually did do or do know about that particular part of their history is so damning that even celestial dragons might not want to be that anymore. Right? That's what it like feels like, that oh shit, we might even have people like rebelling within our own ranks if they knew about stuff that we got down to back at that time.
Yeah, I kind of thought about it, and like I think she's younger than Robin is, so it's quite possible that once the O'Hara incident happened, and like they knew Robin got away, they might have like stopped telling their kids about the Void Sentry because like, oh shit, somebody they could just like find out about this, and we don't want them to know about that. We see Saul just like chilling. More flashes in other towns like Orange Town. We see Boodle and Choo Choo, the Flash of the Amazons for a little bit.
Okay, we missed them last time. Yeah.
We see that the thing that Edison went off to do is create a bridge of clouds so that the Straw Hats could ride the clouds to escape past the blockade.
I'd imagine same type of cloud tech as like Witherio or something.
And it seems like he's going to stay behind and just like...
Martyr himself? Okay.
Because they still have Lilith with them. She's still part of like their group.
She's the one Vegapunk we don't want to die.
Though I'll be honest, at first impressions, I did like York more than Lilith, but York is a huge bitch, so all my homies hate
can't.
York.
Unfortunately, the goofy, tired gamer girl persona was just a persona after all.
This is so sad.
Yeah, every time. No, don't meet your heroes, right?
Luffy tries another attack on Workery, and it doesn't work again.
Is he still in 5th gear, or no?
Yes.
Okay.
And we, the last lines of... Well, first off, we find out that Nika was an Elbaf tail.
Oh, wait, do you think he was originally a giant?
We don't know. Just like the legendary Sun God Nika from the Fables of Elbaf, they're talking about Joy Boy, he too fought with a stretchy and elastic body. And then the last sort of lines are, he was the first man to take to the seas, the first one to be called a pirate.
Okay, so he's technically also the pirate god too.
They added the raw like chapters for My Hero Academia, but I don't want to read it because it's really annoying to go through raws. So.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, I mean, in my corner of the less read, but in my opinion, equally good, if not better, that section of just kind of manga, broadly speaking. We had a series that ended semi-recently, which it probably ended before we got the translations for it. But the series Peerless Dad got its last chapter, I think, earlier or late last month, after we recorded the episode for this one. It ended more abruptly than I thought it would.
Oh? How so?
So not to explain the entire series to you, because you've definitely not read this. Both you, the listener, and also Alex. But Peerless Dad ends after a time skip. So their time skip's like at the very end. He has like another child, right, with his new wife. And then everything is just kind of set to be peaceful for his family and like his kids. That's about it. That's like, it just ends that way. So like, what happens is the dad's been like poor this whole time and so like been trying to overcome his inherent trauma of not being strong enough to fight against the top echelon people in this world. Even though compared to a regular person, he's been OP since the first chapter. He finally got over that. He's been recognized as like one of the stronger people, right, in the world now. And we see him on like a battlefield at first, fighting a war. And then it just gets to, like, it skips to basically the end of it where they've just already won. And, like, the kids are older now. They're, like, teenagers now. The female, child has, like, 2 love interests that potentially they could do something with. His sons are, like, competent warriors that can take care of themselves now and shit. And it just kind of ends randomly. Like, everything kind of slides into place like a portrait. And they just kind of end right there, yeah. To be fair, there wasn't like a huge antagonist for the entire series, and the storytelling nature of like Chinese stuff is very different from American and Japanese stuff in general. Their stories are very much the journey is more important than the destination kind of deal. A lot of the manhwas I've read have either lackluster endings or just non-endings like this one. This one wasn't a bad ending, it just wasn't like an ending. There was no climax, it just stops. It feels like the author's probably going to make like a sequel series or some spin-off things related to his kids. Maybe. They just ended. So anyone who's been reading that, it's over now. It was a good run. I highly recommend it to anybody who's interested in reading martial arts mangas in general with like power systems you're not familiar with because it's Chinese. They incorporate the whole elemental system they have in China with, like, the 5 elements as opposed to the standard, like, classic 4. For anyone who knows what Kengan Ashua is, right, Kengan Omega, the sequel series to it, had a chapter that released semi-recently. and we're setting up like the 86th tournament arc for the series. But it's built on tournament arcs. It's like Baki, so like it doesn't matter. That's not the problem. We're setting up like a tournament arc though that's just kind of window dressing for the actual main plot here, because we're bringing back some old fan favorite characters to fight against each other, because the idea is that we've hit a new level of power in this world where there's like basically magic now, where before everything was grounded in reality. Now there's like just actual like magic at this point. Most of the characters that aren't like the 2 or 3 main protagonists are just irrelevant in power, so they're holding a quote-unquote self-improvement tournament, right, where they're just pitting all of these fan favorite characters against each other, even though they normally would be on the same team, explicitly so that they get strong enough to compete against these weird, like, demon people. And yeah, that's about it. It's a tournament arc of all of the B-list characters that are not strong enough to be relevant to the plot, so there needs some type of contrivance to make them stronger. And it's always at least interesting to look at. The art style for King and Omega is nice, and the action's always really well drawn. Although the mangaka definitely has something going on, because like really emphasized drawing the nipples on all the guys. Don't know why. I mean, I think I know why, but I don't want to make any accusations. By the way, if you've ever seen Kengan Ashura and Kengan Omega, the same person who makes that series makes the series about like the girls working out. Like
that one. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, that's of course. That series is made by the same guy. It's not like they have a preference for drawing muscly dudes. They just really go for it whenever they do it though. So that's another one that came up with any or out with any new chapters. And the
Did you hear that Kengan Ashura and Baki are getting a crossover series on Netflix?
Yes, and it looks hype as hell. I'm very excited to see what happens. I'm also incredibly excited to see Baki eat somebody. Like, metaphorically, Jack would actually eat somebody. Baki would just, he'd make a meal out of them, right? The Kengan Ashura like series is funny in the fact that a lot of the characters have pseudo like superhuman abilities and stuff. Baki doesn't care. The characters are built on hype and hype alone. If hype was a power system, that's literally all Baki is. It's like, oh, this character is able to move so fast that he can like create a sonic boom by envisioning his body to be like a whip. Sure, yeah, you can just do that now.
There's a line in the dub of Baki where they're talking about Hanayama. I think the line is exactly Hanayama's power has surpassed that of the gods, which is probably one of the funniest dub lines of all time, and I love it so much.
Oh, it's even better in the context of the series. Like, these are just guys. Like, these are just like big Japanese dudes fighting each other, like fictionally big. Like Hanayama's like 8 feet tall. Dude's gigantic. Not to mention that Pickle definitely isn't real. Oh god, it's very good. I'm very excited to see that, actually. There aren't any other like more notable things that happened as far as like manga stuff is concerned from what I read. I mean, actually, you know what? No, that's a lie. Two things. One, Remonster got another chapter. It doesn't release, very frequently, so that's always exciting. And I also found out, I'm probably late to this, but I found out they're getting an anime for it, too. It's an anime adaptation of a manga that's based off of a light novel. That classic progression of things. And based on the animation that I've seen for the anime and stuff, it's going to diverge from the manga pretty hard with the art style in some ways, and I think that's for the better. No shade to the mangaka, well, not much shade anyway. They cannot draw metal and armor or weapons or vehicles. They just can't do it. They can't do it. They're good at drawing muscly dudes with fangs, goblins, booba, which, to be fair, has built careers in the past.
I mean, for what's presumably a fantasy series, those things are pretty key.
Yeah, that's like 60% of the hard sell things, right? Like you can't have a series without them, right? Like If you're a fantasy setting, you can't not have those things. It's weird. I'm on the fence about whether or not he is or isn't a good artist at this point.
Because metal armor and like weapons and stuff like that. That is pretty important too. That's the other like 40%.
Yeah, that we're missing. Like, we can't just have waifus here. Like, I know some people really want that, but we also need, like, everything else. Yeah, they're also really bad at drawing children and babies. And the main character has, like, 12 kids. So, there's a lot of sex, though. And they're gonna have a field day with that in the anime adaptation. It's good to know that's getting a thing. We had a recent chapter with that, which is cool. They found out another character evolved. The characters in the series, by the way, evolved like Pokemon. But, like, Monster Girls Pokemon, as opposed to, like, regular Pokemon. Actually, one last gripe. They also do not know how to draw more than 2 body types. It's a fairy tale situation all over again. And whenever they stray away from that, you end up having atrocity that is whatever type of bear they're trying to draw. Their bears look like they're Roblox characters with proportions. It's just not, and they give them human hands, basically, with their fingers. It's just, I'm not going to talk about that anymore, but yeah.
That's all of the series catch-up for this month. Then let's move on to our new segment, Anime Movie Bullshit.
Can't wait to find out what this is.
I got a ringer for you.
Is it Lord Slug again? That would actually be very funny if you did the same one twice. You just reworded it differently.
I tried going a bit more broad on this one. Let's see if you can get it. Our main characters receive an invitation to the movie's locale in a filler arc, and upon arriving, they participate in various recreational activities, dress up real fancy, and meet with a previously unknown associate of a main character. An initial scuffle with the main villain is cut short due to the heroes being hindered by something. At the end of the movie, the main cast is split into groups to fight the major henchman, and the big bad is powered up due to an effect caused by the owner of the locale. And before they are beaten, we find out they had a minor connection to the main bad guy of the series. They then leave the locale in the hands of the person they knew beforehand. Which movie am I talking about?
Okay. My mind immediately went to one thing at first. I don't want to just blow my load in one go here, so I'll start asking some relevant questions. Is this a One Piece movie?
It is not.
Okay, so I'll just immediately say what I thought it was at first. I thought this was Film Gold.
That was my
Your red herring?
My red herring.
Yeah. My reason for thinking that, by the way, is invitation from a filler arc before the actual thing. We had one of those for Film Gold, just like we did with Stampede and stuff. And character who was associated with another character in the crew, Nami's burglar friend, who just happens to be there. Power up or mysterious circumstances after they get dressed all fancy that ruins their fun. All the bad luck stuff and, nefarious gold manipulation and things. And also the weird imp guy with the teleporting powers. And then powering up from the locale is just, Giltazora going, big gold form. That was my initial thought as to what it was. So if it's not a One Piece movie, okay, invitation, filler art. Is this a Naruto movie?
It is not.
To be fair, the Naruto movies, they never really dress up quote-unquote fancy. What would it be? Okay, is it a shonen movie?
It is.
Okay. It's a shonen. Would I have seen this?
My instinct is to say no.
Okay. So is it the My Hero Academia movie?
Yes, it is My Hero Academia Two Heroes.
Okay, because there's also what is it, like World Heroes Mission or whatever? Because there's only 2 so far.
No, there's been 3.
Was the third one?
There's 2 heroes. There is Heroes Rising, and then there is World Heroes Mission.
Oh yeah, it's the prequel one with All Might. Yeah, okay, I forgot about that one. But okay,
the movie's locale is a floating island in the sea that I don't remember the name of, but it is like this huge, kind of like a tech expo.
The only reason I even mentioned the hero one is because I think they've dressed up in 2 of the movies. So I wasn't sure. Between the 2, I didn't know which one it was. But if it's the 2 heroes, that makes more sense, yeah.
Yeah, they get out on the ice and dressed up for like a gala, and it's interrupted by villains.
We have, All Might's niece or something?
Non-familial niece, yes. Melissa, I think her name's Melissa Stone.
Yeah, she's the armor maker. Quirk girl or whatever.
And All Might is hindered by his previous injury that he got.
That makes sense. And the gala and the location goes back to the owner afterwards and stuff, right?
The thing that powers up is like that Quirk headband that Dave made. Dave Stone. Which, by the way,
Good old Dave.
I fucking love Chris Sabat in like All Might's voice, just saying, "Dave, my friend, Dave."
Yes, of course.
The bad guy's main connection to the main bad guy is just that he was bankrolled by the League of Villains. I did this one specifically because I wanted to prove that you can, with the right phrasing, you can make any movie sound like another movie.
It definitely sounded a lot like Film Gold to me.
For those people who said that Star Wars The Force Awakens is a copy of A New Hope, you can do this with anything if you just use the right like phrasing for things.
Yeah. Now, mind you, that particular example is a bit egregious, though. There are quite a few similarities. It's not the same movie, like, obviously, but like...
But they use different contexts for the similarities, so it's not...
Like, yeah. And if anything, most of the similarities are references, which aren't necessarily a copy, it's a reference, right?
That was shonen movie bullshit.
If that's number 2, and it keeps going at this rate, I will not be able to guess what it is within, like, 4 more of these, but I'm excited to find out what the hell it's going to be.
I was going to do the first Bleach movie, but I looked at the plot summary, and they just, like, kept making up new terms, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this. This is dumb.
Also, nobody watched the first one.
But yeah, now that's over. We're on to our main topic, which is moms and their sort of... a
lack of life.
Yeah, I was going to say their impact or lack of impact.
The poor ladies. The poor ladies that had to squeeze out the protagonist. Of course, we can go, like, down to more specifics here. But broadly speaking, in the anime that Alex and I like to enjoy, which is primarily shonen and also a bit of seinen, parents in general do not exist. Their asses are dead as hell. Every character, protagonist or not sometimes, has to be an orphan. Just full stop. Every single time. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have familiar figures in their lives, though. We're going to go into more specifics soon, but I just want to front load here for anyone who's not aware of this. There's not a lot of parents out there in this particular genre of anime. If we're talking about things that are more lighthearted, like slice of life things, sports anime, right? Very rarely do you have an orphan character. Unless that orphanness is meant to portray or convey some type of edgy, aspect to them, or some type of trauma or tragedy. But usually, outside of the genre that we're most familiar with, there's parents all over the place. And they're usually decent. They exist. The protagonist never seems to be traumatized by them. They, have a roof over their head, and the protagonists never seem to be, for want of anything besides whatever the plot needs. So, yeah, they're holding it down. But to get onto the more interesting stuff, do you have any moms in mind that you want to talk about, Alex?
This isn't really unique to, animated manga either. As we said in the intro, Disney likes to do this a lot. It's a kind of way of... I would imagine sort of taking away a support system for the main character. I don't know about most people out there, but I would be lost without my mom in my life.
I'd be okay. But then again, it's not my first time around this rodeo. If my parents were to hit the bucket, yeah.
Also, I mean, I'd say you're an outlier in terms of being independent with things, but that's just coming from me. So,
I mean, that's relatively true.
It's a support system. It's a feeling of safety and comfort that they're taking away from the main character to kind of maybe not push them on their journeys, but make it so that they will have nothing they can look back to and say, I'm not going to do this. I have things to lose here.
For the Disney bit, they have an extra little crutch to lie on with all the mass grave of mothers and their IPs. And the fact that a lot of the original source material for children's stories also have them being orphans. The reason that the source material uses them, I think, is the same reason that they use it a lot in anime as well. Which is to say, not only does it take away the support structure, it justifies the characters being weird as fuck. Oh, this is just a wild person who's never been taught anything. So they can have whatever quirky things you want, and the justification is they weren't taught any better. There's also the extra bit where you can add, narratively speaking, the loss of a parent being important to the plot, which you normally can't do if they're still alive. If you want the dad, more often than not, to be a twist villain, you just state outright the parents are both dead, and you find out later that they weren't. Or your parents were heroes, or like legendary characters in your world, and you slowly piece it together that they're like way more important than you ever realized, and stuff like that. And you have a bloodline thing. Or sometimes it's just to make...
If Midoriya's dad is like evil the whole time, oh my god.
That would be hilarious.
His
it's just been his
dad is just like an evil guy the whole
actually
time.
a villain. Yeah, it just shows up last minute as well. It's like, I'm also a shitty dad that's related to fire for some reason. And the last bit is that having, parents out of the picture also just makes the character's sense of agency way stronger. If you're an orphan and you don't have the quote-unquote responsibility to make it back home by like 9 o'clock, you can just go on adventures. Right? There's the logistics of having to deal with a parental figure worrying about a protagonist in an action fighting series is just gone. It's missing.
And I guess to sort of lean into sort of specifics, they also have there's also kind of like narratively, there might be reasons why characters don't have like familial attachments like that. For instance, One Piece is very much about like found family and kind of like this idea of like nakama, this sort of family like dynamic. So it kind of almost makes sense why a lot of the main characters don't have mothers
actual
or like,
familial
fathers.
bonds. Yeah, or siblings. I mean, hell, Luffy can't even have his adopted brother.
For instance, we don't know who Luffy's mom is, but he had one adoptive mother, Dadan. I'd say Makino is more of a sister now that I'm thinking about it. But we still don't know who Luffy's mom is. Like, it's not even like I'm like Arthur fisting every time I hear that like the whole Croco mom theory.
It gets more evidence every now and then, and it keeps resurrecting itself. It's all Ivankov's fault, though. It's all Ivankov's fault every single time.
That son or daughter of a bitch.
Yeah, right. Just that bitch. We can borrow Loboism. They're a real bastitch, right?
I usually use she/her pronouns for Ivankov just because like their title is the Queen of Kamabaka Kingdom. So
yeah, but is that a queen with a capital Q or a cursive Q? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Zoro's mother they tell us, like, Oda told us her name in a SBS, but she's never been seen. Same thing with his father. Nami was an orphan, like, in a war-torn country that Belmare found, and then she also died.
I was about to say, and then we saw her get orphaned? Yeah, that's rough.
Usopp's mom died of disease.
Also watched her die.
Sanji's mom, Sora, she died because she fucking drank bleach from under the sink to make her kids normal.
Also, potentially Sanji's cooking was so bad it was speeding up the process of her dying as well.
It's quite possible. And then he didn't have like a female figure in his life, but like Zeph was just like, don't hit women.
Yeah, he was the whole package for Sanji. Also, Sanji's like characterization, he was more desperate for like a positive male figure in his life than a positive female one.
It's just like because of how fucking bad Judge was.
His dad is.
He needed that balance.
His dad is so bad. Yeah, he needed that just to be normal. Because his mom was really good until she croaked. So, like, he needed something to make up for Judge's just everything. Even out of his siblings, the only female one was, like, acceptable. Just no positive male figures in his life for a while.
Chopper, Reindeer I imagine he didn't have, like, a great relationship with his mom.
Considering they were beating the shit out of him, yeah. All the flashbacks of him as a reindeer, he's just getting abused.
Besides being like verbally abusive, sometimes she seemed like she cared a lot about Chopper.
We got the shed tears, and we know that she chased him away so that he could embrace his new family and all that.
Yeah, and he still cries whenever he like sees her in like the newspaper or whatever. Robin, she had like a Cinderella thing going on with like her shitty aunt. And then there was a female archaeologist in O'Hara that was there. I don't know if like Robin particularly had any kind of like motherly relationship with her, but she met a real mom and she fucking bit it, like just like everyone else did, except for Saul. He got away somehow.
The biggest one, the largest possible target, made it out of there alive.
Frankie, his parents abandoned him on an island to be pirates, and then Kokoro was kind of his mother figure from then on.
And she's fine.
Yeah, she only really started drinking after she thought he died, and even then, like, Kokoro doesn't seem to be like a belligerent drunk. She kind of is just like...
No. She's one of the goofy, happy drunks. But because of how drunk she is, she's also much more incompetent than she used to be. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing as far as your relationship with them could be concerned.
And then Brooke and Jinbei's backstories don't really matter. Like, their childhoods don't really matter, per se.
And their parents are probably dead, considering how old they are.
Yeah, Brooke's parents for sure are dead. Jinbei's might be. We don't know how long Fishman live to be.
Yeah, well, even with the length of it, though, the extra aspect of their lifespan is the fact that many of them were enslaved. Well, because Jinbei, his immediate family, like his brothers, were all enslaved at one point. There's a good chance that his parents originally were probably just like, as horrible as of a term it is, were probably just like Fishman breeding stock for their original slave owners. So, if anything, his parents are probably either A, still slaves, or B, died in captivity.
Very bleak, very,
yes.
not great.
Big oof for Jinbei.
And kind of moving on to, like, sort of the bleakness. Naruto is, like, a world that's basically just, like, everybody, like, most people in the villages are just, like, soldiers.
Orphans, yeah. So they get orphaned by wars all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Though, weirdly enough, I don't think any of the main cast's parents were, like, orphaned because of a war. Naruto's mom, Kushina, was killed by the Nine-Tailed Fox, which was during peacetime.
They were invaded, but not like, they weren't invaded by another country, right?
Yeah, it was
just
one dude.
Individual. Obito, yeah.
Yeah, Sasuke's mom was killed by Itachi. Sakura does have her mom, so does Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino. But Choji and Ino's parents are only in filler, which is...
Kiba probably has a mom.
He does.
We only meet Kiba's older sister.
But... No, we do meet Kiba's mom. She's got, like, wild hair.
Oh, is that his mom? I thought that was his older sister. That's
his older sister has, like, a ponytail and kind of keeps
okay.
the top.
Okay. Yeah, it's the other one. Okay, gotcha. I just thought they were both his sister because they don't look older at all.
I think if you, like, looked at a picture of her again, like, pretty closely, you can kind of see she has, like, the smile lines almost.
Oh, it's one of anime wrinkles. Gotcha.
I looked into it. Shino, Lee, Tenten, and Neji don't have moms. We just don't know anything about them. We know Shino has a dad. He appears a few times in the series, and Neji's dad was pretty...
Dad is mega dead. Tortured to death, actually. About as dead as you can be in the ninja world.
But we don't know about Lee or Tenten's parents, which is, I mean, Tenten I get, right?
Yeah, nobody gives a shit about Tenten. I mean, we know Lee's parents. Lee spread from a polyp that grew off of, Guy's body. He's like a sponge, right? They asexually reproduce to create him.
I must have skipped that filler arc.
Yeah. Well, because, his last name is Rock. Like, who else is in the Rock family? We know that, Guy Sensei's family, might die, is dead.
Well, wait a minute, hold on. Isn't his son's name Metal Lee?
Yes.
So...
he inherited his first name and not his last name.
Yeah, that's... Also, Hinata's mom did die as well, but we don't know from what.
Yeah, we only have her dad left and her sister. It could be chakra disease or some Naruto thing. Or, all the inbreeding.
Yeah, just throw a fucking dart at something. That'll probably do it. You get a character who becomes a mother throughout the course of the series, which is Kurenai. She kind of gets Dragon Balled, where she, like, has a kid and then becomes useless after that.
Either pregnant or raising a baby for the rest of the series.
I mean, to be fair, Kurenai did get a pretty bum treatment in the series. Her one fight that she's in is her trying to out Genshu. Her one fight...
Genjutsu Itachi.
Yeah, she tries to fucking, like, use Genjutsu on Itachi Uchiha, which is the most insane thing that, in context...
A teenage boy who was able to out-genjutsu his entire bloodline by himself.
And now he's an adult.
And kill all of them while under the effects. And now he's an adult and even better at it.
So Naruto sort of is like, it makes sense why there's not a big focus on the parents, or at least, like, there aren't that many, because they're kind of like child soldiers, basically. And the whole village is, like, just a big... fucking army.
They weren't living during one of the Great Ninja Wars, but all of their parents were definitely child soldiers. Literally all of them were child soldiers.
Just real quick, all the main women in, like, all the main female characters in the series become bombs in Boruto. It's pretty, like, their personalities remain relatively the same. They do kind of, like, still do stuff, from what I can tell, especially, like...
Ino's actually important now, which is nice. Actually, hold on, wait a minute. Tenten has a kid? Or no?
I don't know.
I don't think... No, I'm pretty sure Tenten's still single. Yeah. But Lee has a kid, somehow. But Tenten still has nothing.
Do they ever, like, go in, like...
Oh, actually, Kiba's single, too. And so is, Shino. So...
Which is wild, like, all three of them are, like, I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, they're all war heroes, especially Shino. He's like the most skilled member of his clan's entire history. He's got to have something going on. He is also pretty cool. He's got to have something going on.
If I wrote Naruto, I'd make Shino more important, but...
Or at least get something. They're just making him into Aruka Sensei, the nicest guy in the entire village, die single. He's not actually dead, but, like, he's going to die single.
He's also got a cool Cyclops X-Men fucking visor, though. So, it makes up for it, I guess.
I mean, Shino always looks cool. That's the one thing he gets. He gets the look cool.
Yeah, another series where there aren't that many, there are no moms in it because it's Bleach, because everyone's fucking dead, or...
Well, they're either dead in the sense that they are no longer alive and not in the story, or they're dead because they're literally ghosts. So much of the cast is just undead, immortal Shinigami. Like, these characters have basically never aged. They have lived for hundreds, if not thousands of years. The parent, quote-unquote, parentage of them is irrelevant, because they don't have kids, really. And even if they do, it's so rare that we never really see any children in the entire series, because why would you? It's not important to the story. Although, it is actually kind of surprising how many people, like, of the living characters have no moms.
Yeah, Ichigo doesn't have a mom, Orihime doesn't have a mom, Chad doesn't have a mom.
Chad doesn't have a mom. And he has a dad, though. Like, what's up with that? Like, his dad's allowed to live, but his mom still has to be dead.
Yeah, no moms. Kubo was like, no
moms.
No MILFs allowed in my story.
We have Unohana. We have one. You get one. He doesn't have any kids, but I don't think she needs them. It's like the one character that's giving off that energy hard. The only other person that's similar to that is the pink-haired woman from, like, the Zero Division. The one who like has a skinny form and like a happy fat form. Oh god, I don't remember her name. But she gives off that type of energy too. But that's about it. We don't have anybody. Everyone wants Rengiku to be there, but
I guess like those are the big three kind of have like all like decent and relevant reasons for not having like moms in their story. The rest are kind of like give or take. I mean, you know, Hunter x Hunter, the whole story is around Gon's dad, and Gon doesn't really care about his mom. He just has Aunt Mito. Shout out Aunt Mito.
And Killua has a mom, but
she's a high-strung crazy lady.
Absolutely one of the worst moms, just in anime or just in fiction. She's just very bad to all of her kids. Toxic in so many different ways.
Like one of my favorite moments in Hunter x Hunter is when she's like yelling at Killua's dad. She's like, "How could you let him go? We just got him back!" And then Killua's dad's like, "Shut the fuck up! I got this.
We have a plan. He will come back to us. I'm in a blood deal with my son." Leorio's parents are probably alive. I'm still not sure if he grew up just poor or an orphan. Like, because the backstory, you know, of him with like a sick friend and everything, right? The reason why he wants to be a doctor and all that. Obviously, some of it, most of it springs from the fact that he was really poor, right? That's why he believes money, right, will solve all of his problems. Which, practically speaking, it will, yeah. But we never get to see, like, any parental figures in these flashbacks, just like the tragic death of his friend or whatever. So, like, maybe they were both orphans or something, or along those lines. Because we never see Leorio visiting family, ever. Right? Even when he's on his off time and medical school and stuff, never talks about his family or visits them. People joke about him already looking like he's 45 anyway, even though he's a teenager in the beginning of the series. We don't see anyone else in the series that really looks like him. That's like a background character, so you can't really, like, conspiracy theory that they're, like, his parents or anything. He's just kind of... I don't think Kurapika wants to talk about his mom.
Well, I mean, he never did, which is kind of, I mean, you know, a little weird. It's always just the clan.
Maybe they had a thing going on where they, like, raised each other kind of deal. It gave off similar vibes in the one prequel. I still remember the time, Alex, for, like, the 5-year stretch where that was the only chapter of Hunter x Hunter we had left. Like, of the most recent ones, was that one prequel chapter of Kurapika's entire clan getting wasted when he went away on, like, a field trip. His entire clan's dead, so... and then I counted Hisoka in, like, the, like, protagonist list. Because, like, in reality, if you, like, look at it, he is a protagonist. He's kind of an antagonist in Hunter Exam and in Heaven's Arena. But then everything else, he's kind of just, like, helping everyone out. I think it's just due to the nature of what he is, though, more so than actual positive intent. Because, like, his whole deal is that he likes killing strong guys. And because of how bleak and realistic, honestly, the application of power is in the structure of the Hunter x Hunter world, all the strongest guys are monsters. Like, they're just evil for the most part. So him just killing them is a net positive for humanity, and he doesn't kill weaklings unless they actively try to get in his way. So, like, he's not going out of his way killing civilians and stuff, right? He's not a serial killer in that way. It's like Dexter, where he has a really specific, target base who happen to all be very bad dudes. Well, and the main cast. Well, he's important to the plot, obviously.
Yeah. There is like a little tidbit that he was a circus performer when he was younger, and that's why he is so clown coded. It doesn't say anything about his family, but we do know he has a family name.
Yes, and he was raised by the main performer of the thing before he unlocked his aura and killed everybody. But when he was in the circus, though, there's a good chance he may have been an orphan when he joined them. That type of thing. Or his parents even sold him to the circus.
It's possible, yeah. We just...
No actual definitive answers on that.
In terms of some definitive answers, we know for sure that Ed and Al's mom in Fullmetal Alchemist is fucking dead.
Died twice. Very dead, got brought back as a husk, dies again. And if you go by the original canon of the anime, not the manga, regular, original run for FMA, their mom's technically kind of brought back again. She's just not important. It's more of a traumatic, horrifying homunculus, right? Than anything else. Why do you have our mother's face type of deal? Yeah. I mean, actually, before we get off of Hunter x Hunter, I wanted to mention the best mom of the series that we know of. Most successful mother, by far. Khmer and Queen. Shout out to the most prolific mother in that entire series. Had 8,000 kids.
In terms of quality?
She had 6 good ones. She had 6 good kids. The rest of them are forgettable, irrelevant, or hate-inducing, wham it.
I'm holding off on the villains until we get to we go through all of the heroes first.
That's fair. If the FMA cast don't, besides Ed and Al, moms aren't really that important because all the other characters are adults. Their parents are probably either dead or old, so it's just not in the story for any reason.
Yeah, I only looked into Winry and Mustang, and both of them are orphans. But Winry does have her grandmother. Yeah.
Yeah, Winry still has a maternal figure in her life. And Mustang has been bitter his entire life. The closest thing to a mother he has now is Hawkeye.
And that's that. We don't have time for that.
That's a good mom to have. Okay. For a lot of people, Riza's literally just hotter Winry, right? I'm not the only person who thought that.
Yeah, and then Olivia is hotter Riza. There's a sliding scale here.
That's fair, because they're similar, design / color scheme, similar body shape, similar hair color and everything. In the case of Winry and Hawkeye, literally just 2 hot blonde women. But no, there's not that many parents involved in FMA. Although, to be fair, a lot of them are also probably dead because it's another war-torn series. A lot of soldiers relevant to the plot. Episode 1 / the first 2 chapters are them joining the military, so that's going to be a thing. Also, all the homunculus being horrific, and the experiments related to the Philosopher's Stone leading to just so much mass murder. There has to be dead parents, and mostly moms, right? All over the place for that reason.
And also, there's a lot more emphasis on, I guess, there's more fathers in FMA, which we will get to when we get to...
Yeah, Father's Day and stuff.
Next series I have written down is 7 Deadly Sins, which is all over the place.
Bond was a orphan, right?
His dad is abusive. I don't know about his mom, but we do know he had
okay.
And a sister.
But he ran away from home, though.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was raised primarily by the old fox guy.
Meliodas, he has the Demon King as his father. We don't know about a mother. It's never brought up. Elizabeth, we do know...
Could you imagine if it was a supreme deity?
I mean, I guess it's the only sort of logical thing, but it'll be also really weird.
That'll be so bad in so many different ways.
Yeah, because is Elizabeth's mom, and she's all the goddess's mom, I suppose. She's a huge bitch, and she's the whole reason why why Meliodas is the way he is, because she wanted to fuck with him, and the Demon King just wanted to have his prized son back.
Actually, thinking about it now, between the Demon King and the supreme deity, they may have both just quote-unquote created their children. I don't know if sexual reproduction is even relevant to those guys.
For those two, they definitely probably just created them, but I think...
Yeah. Though their children can definitely have children.
So next up is Hawk. Hawk does have... There is a character called Hawk's mom, which appears in most of the series until it pops like a balloon, and it turns out it was the embodiment of chaos the whole time. So I don't think that was Hawk's actual mom.
If it was, that would be horrific.
Hawk used to live in purgatory with his brother Wild, and that probably
Yeah,
means
so
they
they
have a
definitely have
mom.
Yeah, because if your siblings most likely had some type of creator. Although Hawk and Wild are weird, even by like Seven Deadly Sin standards, because we don't know what species they are. We don't really know if they're actually like demons or not. They both have the ability to like adapt to their physical environments and stuff, and like what they eat. So
I think purgatory beasts are their own kind of species, but Deanne, we know her parents died in battle because Matrona mentions that, and they were very strong giants. King, I think he was born from like a flower or like the Great Fairy King's forest or whatever.
yeah, I mean fairies are weird already because they're like physical embodiments of nature energy for the most part. But they can also reproduce sexually with each other as well to have children. What that actually means for him is kind of nebulous. For you, Alex, because you haven't seen or read the series for the, Knights of the Apocalypse, when we learn about like King and Diane's kids, because spoiler for people listening to this, they get married and have kids. For their kids, all of them were definitely, biological, if you know what I mean. There's like an entire subplot about changelings, which are when fairies switch their children with human children. So there's like a subtle hint that there's a lot of fairies out there that were raised by humans, which means their actual biological parents just left them with like human parents because it's a game to them is to leave their kids and swap them with human babies. By the way, most of the humans that are taken to the fairy wilds when they're switched out die immediately because the fairy wilds are toxic to regular human beings. So it's like the worst game. I'm going to take your kid, abandon my child, and then asphyxiate your child to death at my house is basically what the game is. It's very bad. Yeah, I know. But yeah, so King's parents probably do exist, but they most likely don't know who he is or care. Because they're fairies, right? But just kind of weird like that.
Gother was made, he's a doll. I guess the only thing we could possibly into it as like a mother to him is Gother's lover that looks like Gother. Or demon Gother that looks like doll Gother.
Yeah, there you go.
We don't know about Merlin's mom. She's probably dead because the Demon King and Supreme Deity fucking wrecked her home city after she like pranked him.
It was a bad prank. And she was like raised in captivity, right? After that point.
Well, we know that she grew up with Elizabeth and Meliodas as sort of like parental figures to her.
During one of their cycles, yeah.
No, I think it was before they got cursed, I think.
Oh, wait, okay, so she's actually older than I expected. Yeah, that makes Merlin, like, thousands of years old. Jesus.
We know Escanor's mom, and she's probably dead because he's in his 40s, and, like, they fucking tossed him into, like, a basket in the ocean or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, and, like, other minor sub-characters, we don't really know about their families or whatever. It's kind of the same thing with Naruto, where, like, there's just, like, a lot of wars all the time, and it's, like, medieval Britain.
Parental figures aren't important for these squads of just random muscly knights, right? That are just prowling, right? The nature and stuff. If anything, we probably see plenty of demon mothers in the series. They're probably just demons, right? Like the white demons, the gray demons, the red demons and stuff. Some of them are probably female. Some of them probably sire the other ones. We have no idea. Because they're all roughly the same size. We learned, by the way, in the Knights of the Apocalypse that of the demons, they do have children as well. And their children look just like the adult forms, but smaller. So all the ones we see in Seven Deadly Sins proper, right, are roughly the same size, which means they're all probably soldiers and probably fully grown adults. But that doesn't exclude them from being related to each other, though. So, in all likelihood, we probably saw Escanor just, kill tons of mothers in his time.
We know that Derriere had a sister, and so that they probably had a parent, and so like that means high demons can also have a parent, like kids and stuff like that. Like, which is weird because Derriere, I think, and Monspeed have both been in the Ten Commandments since like the beginning. I think.
I mean, we know that the quote-unquote original demon is a thing, and he was split into two people, but there's no reason to believe that he wasn't just created.
Here's kind of an outlier in terms of mom having, and that's My Hero Academia. Where, as far as we know,
basically everybody has their moms.
Every single member of Class 1A has their moms. We see most of them. Midoriya's, Bakugo's, Aoyama's, Jiro's, Sue's, Hagakure's, Ochako's, yeah, and a few others.
We see All Might's mom. She's dead, but more probably. Shout out to her for existing.
There is a character who did lose their mom, and that's...
Yeah, the water kid. He lost both of his parents to Muscular. Yeah, Muscular just evaporated, or splatted, I should say, both of his parents. And we also, I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to the villain bit, but there's more dead villain parents than hero ones, that's for sure.
But shockingly, not as many as you'd think, which is interesting.
Yeah, some of them just left their homes because they were different and didn't want to be in that environment. If we're talking about My Hero Academia, something that has become relevant again, not as relevant as it used to be, in Black Clover, a lot of parents are also dead. But relevant, though. Like, many of the characters, the mothers especially, actually, that are dead in the series are relevant later in the series. For example, Asta's mom is, like, apparently really important to the plot, like, retroactively speaking, as being the reason why Asta was chosen by, like, the anti-magic tome and has his, like, abilities anyway, because the demon that inhabits him is basically, like, his adopted brother. Juno's parentage is, like, royalty as well from, like, the Spade Kingdom, and he was abandoned as a baby, but he had, like, a fairy tale abandonment thing. His mom just died by being killed by Satan. So, it's a little bit different.
If I had a nickel...
I'd have, like, maybe 3. It's still concerning, though.
I know Noelle's mom, she died when she gave birth to Noelle, and her siblings are real assholes to her about it.
Yes, and Noelle's mom comes back later in the form of being, like, she gets resurrected and, like, possessed by the spirit of, like, demons and, like, weird negative time magic by Julius, who's secretly, not our Julius, but you know what I mean, who's secretly the main antagonist in the entire series. Yeah, Noelle has to overcome her own mother by wearing even skimpier paladin armor and shooting a water dragon through her until she explodes. It's great. Her stepping up to her mom makes all of her siblings realize, like, oh, she's not actually useless after all. She's beating our mom. Her family's so messed up. But yeah, the Black Clover has parentage, and they're surprisingly relevant for the moms, at least.
Lineage is very important in Black Clover, especially for the royals.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, they have royal families and stuff related to that. But, like, Asta's mom being who she was surprising to me, because a lot of the times it's, like, fathers in the backstories that are important, but in this case it's the mother and everything, which, now that in hindsight, thinking about that, I realize there's a surprising amount of, parallels between that and Kushina with Naruto. Mom dies by being killed by Satan, who inadvertently seals a demon inside of her baby, who then he learns to get along with. Yeah.
Speaking of moms who are relevant to, like, the main character or whatever, JJK and Yuji's really fucked up kind of backstory.
Oh, are we talking about the fact that Yuji's mom is technically one of the main antagonists of the series?
Yeah, his mom turned out to be a weird brain guy the whole time.
Technically speaking, she was her own person before he took over her body. However, as far as Yuji's existence is concerned, she was never alive for any of his existence. Because he personally made him, if you know what I mean. Man, your antagonist can do it all. You can really do it all.
And the rest of any families are just, like, they were just fucking offed by either them, like, the kids themselves, because they couldn't control their stupid power source or whatever, or
demons. Yeah, well, or evil, like, malevolent spirits, I guess, is what they have in JJK. Not really demons.
Yeah, JJK is very bleak.
A lot of dead parents, dead mothers also, but, like, I guess we have one instance of main family being killed off by the character because their family sucks.
Shout out my girl Maki.
Besides that, though, the parents are also mostly just dead. I just want to bring this up just because it's, very popular and also really fucked up, but Guts' mom from Berserk.
Honestly, kind of a
super
MVP,
duper dead.
Honestly.
But managed to give birth while having been hanged. She was hanged from a tree and died and gave birth to her son anyway. Now, whether or not that's more impressive on Guts' mother's part or Guts as a literal newborn child, it's up in the air, but they managed to make it through somehow. Griffith's parentage isn't important, and the rest of the characters who would be important are all dead or children for some reason. A lot of the main cast are just kids.
Well, speaking of that, Dr. Stone is the same way, where I don't, like, I told you before.
They're literally just children.
Yeah, when we were discussing this episode, I looked into it. There are, I think, three female characters who are above the age of 20 but underneath the age of like 50.
They're all either old women or just teenagers. And then one actual child.
And also none of the villagers have a mom that we know of. Kino and Gino don't, Chrome doesn't, Suika doesn't, Kohaku doesn't.
But the implication is probably they just died in childbirth like we used to.
We don't know who Senku's mom is because he was adopted. I guess like it's up in the air whether or not he's an antagonist or not, but Tsukasa, his mom, I think she was like either like just a drunk or like a layabout.
All the other characters from the past that may have had parents, their parents are probably just either still petrified or just dead. Like, just straight up, just actually dead. Yeah. Popular series of yesteryear, Attack on Titan. We get to watch someone be orphaned again. Aaron's dad. We technically watch him get orphaned both ways. He experiences the death of one of them, personally.
Tanjiro's family gets eaten by demons, right?
Yep.
I'm guessing. Like I said, if we get to the goal that I'm looking for, I will watch through Demon Slayer, but not until then.
It basically his entire family gets got by one demon that he wasn't strong enough to fight back and kill.
Ceres Victoria's mom gets necrophiled. Ranking of Kings, Boji's mom gets fucking ballisted to death, and the person who's responsible for that doesn't get punished for that at all.
Any punishment whatsoever. Very cool. Sad to watch Pearl die.
But there is a mother in Ranking of Kings. I really like Queen Hilling. She's just like she could have been like the evil stepmom trope, but like first of all, she wants Boji to not be king just because like he's just a little boy. He can't. He needs just to like hang out. He doesn't need to be like king right now.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot that Hilling's is Pearl. My bad. Boji's original mother didn't look like Pearl.
Yeah, she's just a giant lady, but like she's like just cares about like Boji and just yeah, it's very nice. She's if we do like a top list, she's definitely towards the top. Going back to My Hero real quick, so for someone who'd be in the worst moms list, Nana Shimura, the 7th user of One for All, bad mom. She had the power of float. And honestly, she probably shouldn't.
And she floated away from her family.
She probably shouldn't have taken on the fucking Lord of Darkness by herself. I don't care if she's got
probably
7 times the amount of power than she normally does. Her power was float and nothing else.
Yeah, 7 times floating is just flight, and that's not really enough to do much.
And she like abandoned her son to be like a fucking depressed salary man who got influenced by her arch enemy. Bad mom. 0 out of 10.
At least she feels guilt about it, though. That's more than a lot of people can say.
Oh, we didn't talk about Dragon Ball yet.
I was gonna mention that once you got through the list of your things, because there's a bunch of these here that I still wanted to talk about. But yeah, the Dragon Ball mom thing is weird because Goku's mother is like almost a retcon.
Gine, I believe his name is.
Because there's 2 different versions of her.
Yeah,
there's 2 different versions of her because there's 2 different versions of Goku's like original being sent to Earth, right? Like the version that's really inspired by Superman, and the other one which is just based on the Bardock movie. And the one based on the Bardock, she's not there, but she does exist. She just gets blown up on the planet like all the other Saiyans.
As does Vegeta's mom. You don't ever see her.
Yes, Vegeta's mom, which I wish, I mean, maybe it was, but I wish her name was Queen Vegeta. That's just every single person. the planet, my son, my wife, or me.
Yes. She looks exactly like Vegeta and King Vegeta.
Yeah, just with boobs.
Yeah.
Oh god, that'd be so funny. And that's also be a very Toriyama thing to do, too.
All Namekians reproduce asexually.
We have to assume Frieza's race does, too. Because he's got a dad and a brother that are canon. And nothing else.
Did anyone just imagine Frieza with boobs? Tell me I'm not the only one.
He must never know.
All the Z fighters don't have moms. Krillin, Yamcha.
They're probably straight up orphans, actually, if I'm being completely honest.
Krillin's a monk, so that tracks with that. And Yamcha was like in the desert as a bandit, so.
Yeah, as a bandit for his entire life with Puar. So yeah, Oolong doesn't have family. He's also a child.
They're just Puar, as far as we know.
Just weird cat thing. Yeah.
Bulma?
I guess Piccolo technically has an actual parent that we do know about. Bulma does have a mom. So he got a mom, all right.
I think her name is Panchi, which is supposed to be Panty because Toriyama's so cool and funny.
Such an incredibly based individual. But like Mrs. Brief's Bulma's mom, by the time we get to Super, she ends up looking younger than her own daughter, which,
I don't age, sweetie.
I
Your
mean, the
father won't
joke
let
writes
me.
itself for, yeah, won't let me, yeah. The joke writes itself for DPCA, like, we don't know what's going, because Mr. Briefs definitely gets older. He looks older with time, but she just doesn't age. So moving on from, like, the big, shonen ones that, most people would have, like, watched and stuff. An important mother character for a series that I really like is actually in Hajime no Ippo, or Fighting Spirit, I guess, in Japanese. Ippo's mom is like the entire reason why he quits boxing. Really disappointing for a lot of people who are fans. So I know he has the other reason where he thinks he's punch drunk or whatever, but the biggest like push for him is the fact that his family business needs someone to be at the helm, and his mom's getting old. His mother's also like an inspiration for him. She's not dead, obviously, but like she's like a really important character in his life. His dad's actually dead instead. We never met Ippo's like Chad father, who saved all the other people on his ship to get to sea, but he couldn't make it back from that storm. I guess, the storm gods took him. But yeah, Ippo's mother's important in his life and his story. Another character of Volg, the Russian wolf boy, his mother's really important to his story as well. There's other characters who have been orphaned, like their parents are dead, like Kumi, or I think her name is, like Ippo's like love interest. Her parents are dead. She's just left with her older brother. They take care of each other and everything. So like parentage is surprisingly like present in that series. And it's usually very positive. Like, Coach Kamigawa, for example, is basically like a surrogate father figure for Ippo at this point. But Takamura, the big strong guy, the one person in Ippo that's not allowed to lose, he genuinely just always wins. But it never feels contrived, and it's always hype. But yeah, Takamura, he's like, the strongest big guy or whatever. But like his entire character arc revolves around his family, actually. And kind of like living up to overshadow the disappointment that he put his family through. Because it turns out he's like a street thug kind of guy before he became a boxer, but his family apparently are like all CEOs and like owners of like super mega corporations and stuff. And he's just like the black sheep of their family. His little brother and his sister are like his biggest fans. And it's always funny seeing them in the crowd with all these like sweaty, grungy Japanese salarymen, and then they're like in like clean pressed suits with a butler, just at the ringside watching their brother get the snot kicked out of them. It's great. The families are really important in that series in particular, and Ippo's mother's always been a standout mom in like anime series I've seen. She's just a hardworking mom that wants to let her son do what he needs to do, even though she's always worried about him, because what he's doing is dangerous. It's just a good mom. We don't get many of those. Well, a good mom who's also alive.
So in Baki, there are, well, of like the 4 or 5 women characters there are in that series, 3 of them are moms, which is Baki's mom.
Dead.
Yep, killed by Yujiro. But she did get some play in like the like sort of Netflix era of stuff. Like the first time he challenged his dad to a fight.
And she was also the worst mom during that era. She's a very bad mom. To be fair, anybody who sleeps with Yujiro willingly is mentally ill to some degree.
And then there's the people who don't sleep with Yujiro unwillingly, like Jack's mom,
who become mentally ill with time, or that one hiker.
But Jack's mom,
we don't want to talk about that.
She was part of like the Russian like military, right, in like Vietnam or something like that.
Yeah, and as a defense tactic, she had sex with Yujiro, who proceeded to destroy her entire platoon, including tanks, with his bare hands, like a monster. As you do.
She doesn't really show up in Jack's backstory after that. It's mostly just him like doing drugs. And then there is Katsumi, I think that's his name, right? Orochi's son.
Oh, yeah.
His mom, who look
it just exists, probably.
Inagaki, he doesn't need to write women into this story just because of how fucking beefy and bulky these boys are.
It's true. Also, he already has enough of a struggle drawing male figures. Like, the sheer exaggeration of his male figures makes it terrifying to conceptualize more women if you try to draw them.
Here's another series that has a lot of moms in it. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Jonathan does not, his mother is dead, but Joseph, he has Lisa, who is alive. It's quite possible she could be alive in part 4, just because she's a hormone master, but it's hard to say. She was I think she made a good decision, but I think there was a better decision available to her when she abandoned Joseph. Yeah, living on like a weird sort of like island on like the Italian coast is like good, is like okay, but then like living with like the richest man on like the planet, being raised by like your nice grandma is like pretty good too.
Yeah, it could have been worse for sure.
Jotaro has a mom, and she's like the nicest, least combative person on the planet. Shout out Holly Joestar.
And considering her progeny, we don't know where it went.
Though I do think it's very funny how, how Jotaro noticed something was wrong with her because he didn't get a good morning kiss from his mommy. He's like, hold on a second.
But the juxtaposition is very
Something's
good.
not right here.
Yeah. My morning kisses are missing.
She's so just like non-confrontational and just like placid that literally having a stand was just killing her. And then there's Josuke's mom, Tomoko, who is just a bad bitch who fucking like douchebag sports cars with their faces. But also, she's just like super horny for Joseph still.
Ugh, I mean, Joseph aged very well.
I can't blame her, honestly. Though it is funny she mistook.
Like, almost inarguably got better with time.
It is very funny she mistook Jotaro for for Joseph just because like Jotaro is like half Japanese and like Joseph does not look anything like Jotaro does.
The Joestar genes are strong though. The silhouette is the same.
We don't know about Miss Shiobana, Giorno's mother. We know that she was a very promiscuous woman who did not care about her son at all. And much like Yujiro, anyone who willingly has sex with Dio is not all there.
Yeah, not all there, no.
And then Jolene's mom is this poor woman that Jotaro decided to marry. I say poor woman. Jotaro is a pretty handsome man. He's
just not all there with everything else.
He's just more interested in like starfish or whatever than his kids or family.
Being married to him must be either like infuriating or terrifying.
But jokes aside, Jotaro, we'll do this on the Father's Day episode. I don't want to get into this right now, and I haven't read Steel Ball Runner.
But there's like moms in the JoJo series, like surprisingly,
and they're like good moms too.
Yeah, more so than dads, if the dads aren't straight up the protagonists, right? A lot of the dads end up just either being dead or like deadbeats or Dio. But if we're talking about like dead dads, we can also talk about the hardest working moms in any long running like series that do have anime adaptations. It's all the moms in Pokemon. Just no dads. You get one dad and he's an asshole. You get one canon dad that's your dad and he's an asshole.
And he works in a completely different town in the region.
He doesn't live close by. He could have chosen to be a gym leader right next to where you guys lived. He could have been in the first town, but no. Norman just doesn't care about his kids at all. No matter which one you play as, he doesn't care. But yeah, like all of the moms in the Pokemon games are generally single moms. And they're always just good moms, right? They're never like super important to the story or anything. The only like really relevant mom in all of Pokemon at this point is probably Dahlia, Ash's mom. Even then, it's not like they're more of like a plot convenience than anything else. Like, oh, you have a parent figure; it is your mother.
Like her only like extra bit of relevance was just because of the Entei movie.
Because she's apparently the archetypical mother for their universe. It's like, you are the most mom within 1,000 miles. I'm taking you.
There was also Brock's mom died and his dad was a fucking deadbeat.
Yes, that's a weird one because, but Brock's whole situation is also weird because he's got like 12 siblings that they all look like him, and the only one that apparently takes after his dad is him because he's also a degenerate and is basically a deadbeat as well. Just abandons all 18 of his siblings to go chasing after Tail and accompanying his friend who he met for the first time like 3 days ago. For the equivalent of like, in real life, for the equivalent of like 16 years. It's just with Ash forever. But yeah, all the moms in Pokemon are great. They do a good job. They're not super plot relevant, but they're alive. They're present and they're supportive of their kids, which is great. Supportive to the point where you can always visit them in every game. They'll take care of you. They'll heal your Pokemon. Sometimes they'll even help invest money for you, even though they're not particularly monetarily conscious, if we're being honest.
Here's a question for you. Does Fuko like save her parents after she like resets the like universe or whatever?
She gives everybody that she can the perfect life from her foreknowledge. and from her skills and money. Because Fuka's whole deal is that she has she had the benefit of starting from the beginning of time again to now. She's gathered training that takes like centuries worth of practice and experience, and she's also made money and started businesses that have the ability to support literally any project she wants. So, yeah, she made sure that everybody who would have been involved have, like, idealized lives. Because she did a reset for her whole thing, by the way, she technically was never born either. So her quote-unquote parents still existed, and she just made sure they were okay.
Yeah. And I guess we never, like, really get to see, like, how good of a mother Fuka was, or Fuka's mom was, I should say.
Yeah. Well-adjusted enough teen.
Yeah.
At the time. Now she's an ancient badass, but when she was first introduced, she was like a normal, polite person.
Those are all the series I had written down. Do you have anything else, or you want to get into villains now?
No, we should get into villains.
So when I looked into it, first things first, I think there's a lot of like gray area with villains, mostly because a lot of them tend to be older, so parents aren't exactly important to their lives, and even then,
sometimes they don't even have parents either.
Sometimes they're just like fucking interdimensional beings, or like
Eldritch Abomination. Yeah, like
I looked into One Piece. There isn't the first time a villain is even mentioned having parents is Doflamingo.
Oh no.
He's the first villain that we know of, like that we know about who his parents were. And his mom died of
and his parents were actually good people.
Yeah, his mom died of breathing in poor person air. and
yeah, she died from it's like peasant madness, yeah.
Though, to be fair, CP9 was confirmed later to have, like, a lot of them have parents. We don't know who exactly. We can infer Khalifa has it, like, her mom is still alive, probably, or at least, like, she, like, had a mom, which is that lady that, like, was keeping an eye on Bonnie in the flashbacks. A lot of people think that lady was Khalifa's mom.
Very similar hoity-toity vibes, yeah.
Oda, I think, said that like a lot of CP9 members, their parents were government agents, and they just like submitted them into the CP9 program. Lucci is definitely an orphan, though. I can almost guarantee that. I would imagine Kaku probably.
Yeah, wasn't loved enough as a child energy. Kaku probably either didn't have parents, but was raised by someone who loved him anyway, or does and just doesn't talk.
Yeah, because Kaku's from the East Blue. Did you know that?
Really? Interesting. We get very few characters from that region. He's also very well adjusted for people in the CP9 as well. Kaku's just a guy.
He's just a good boy, and I love him so much. But if we're talking about One Piece and moms, I mean, Charlotte Lin.
That's true.
Big Goo Mamu.
The largest mom.
Not a very good mom.
Bad mom?
Kind of a bad mom.
I'd say bad mom.
Yeah. She does guarantee like safety for her children, but like she also will fucking drain their life forces out just on a whim, like not even on a whim, by accident.
Yeah, she's willing to harm or kill her kids. We don't see her kill them yet, but there's no reason for us to say that she'd draw the line.
She came very close with Moscato. If they didn't have extra life force on standby, he definitely would have died.
He would have been just dead right there. Yeah, he didn't even die like an honorable death. He just got trained like a bitch to die. Yeah, but like the biggest issue with Big Mom is the fact that her entire idea of family is so distorted.
It's super
right?
weird. Yeah, her mom,
and she's also insane.
We do see her mom, and like her mom and her dad, they kind of just like abandon her on Elbaf because they're like, these fucking giants will just take care of her. Who cares?
How did she give birth to her?
I have to imagine like she started off small and just like immediately like grew very quickly.
How? We meet her as like a toddler, and she's the size of a small house.
I think she's like probably 5 or 6 when we meet her. Because like she's able to talk, like she's able to like speak in full sentences and stuff like that.
Why isn't her body made out of stretch marks? She should just be a living lump of scar tissue at that point. Because it is confirmed that she's actually just 100% human, right? She's like 16 feet tall.
It's probably just her hockey is so strong that it kept her from being all fucked up.
But Roger was like 5'10". I guess he was diseased. I don't know, man.
No, bro. But yeah, Big Mom not a very good mom. Her kids kind of have to like take care of each other like after a while because she's just like a woman child.
A couple of other villains were just slaves, like ex-slaves. Like Kaido was a slave at one point. So was Arlong, and so was all of the fishermen, pirates and everything. Actually, no, they weren't. The fishermen pirates were inspired by ex-slaves. They were all just people that didn't make it into the war. They're like real-life people who wish they could have fought Nazis. and unintentionally became Nazis. Man, I wish I was born in World War II so I could kill German people.
We don't know who Hancock's mom was.
I don't even consider Hancock a villain, honestly, at this point. But if we did, she was just a slave for as long as we've known.
Well, no, we do see her.
Yeah, and she's been a slave for as long as we're aware,
No, we
right?
do see her on the Kuja pirate ship, like before she gets captured. So she wasn't born a slave. She was kidnapped while they were out to sea.
Just very early into it, yeah. How young was she when she was first captured, do we know?
I can look it up right now.
Whatever the number is, it's depressing.
Especially because, like, I think she got out, like, definitely after she was 8. I actually don't know for sure. I think she became a warlord at 18. Oh, when she was 12 years old. And they were kidnapped. And then she got out 4 years later. So she was 16 when she was freed.
That's actually not as bad as I was expecting. From what we've already seen of what they do with people in public that they haven't, like, even technically enslaved yet, yeah, it's not good.
I think those are all the characters that we've met so far that have, like, known parents. Obviously, we can infer that they all have parents, but, like...
It was never relevant or important.
Moving on to Naruto, this is where things get, once again, more bleak. Orochimaru, his parents died, and that's why he became evil, because he wanted to learn every jutsu. Sasuke, again, his parents died. Gaara, his mom died before, I think, when he was born. I don't remember. I just know that she died, and then dad died when Orochimaru killed him. Sasori, his mom died. Itachi, he killed his own mom. Pain was an orphan, as was Konan and Yahiko, I guess, technically. And the rest we kind of don't really know about. Kabuto was a war orphan that got adopted by a nice, like, nun, which is weird that there's nuns in the Naruto world, but whatever. She also died. No, she was a spy, I think. Either he had to kill her or somebody else killed her. I don't remember, but she also died, which sucks to be Kabuto, I guess. I wouldn't necessarily say that, like, the trauma of, like, losing their parents is kind of what caused them to be villains, but it seems like that's the case for most of them, at least.
All the people that knew Nagato, all of his entire crew were orphans. Jiraiya helped raise them. They were all orphans. Kabuto is also an orphan. And his, like, mother figure was secretly a spy for the, village or whatever, and she ended up being killed as well. A lot of war stuff, a lot of orphans that are villains. But I think the orphans for them is more so plot convenience than anything else. Edgy start, evil character, no one to guide them.
Hunter x Hunter was complicated because all the Phantom Troop, like, they're definitely all orphans from Meteor City, and it's kind of hard to, like, pin down, like, a mother for any of them. Again, Hisoka, we don't really know. Genthru, we don't give a shit about him because he's dumb and stupid, and I hate him. And then all the Chimera Ants, they had a mom, and Meruem told her to shut the fuck up so hard that she died from it.
I mean, to be fair, her entire existence was dedicated to making him, so being rejected by that.
The queen was just like, no, please, Meruem, please, you're not ready to come out yet. Shut up.
Blah. First time the baby aborted his mother.
You canned out of that bitch, and so hard she died.
Coming into the world swinging.
I don't know about the princes and, like, the lords or whatever in this stupid Dark Continent arc or whatever.
They have moms. Most of their mothers are either dead or currently alive back at home, but their moms are almost always, like, political figures or concubines. They're just not important. As for everybody else involved, though, yeah, they just don't really exist, and it's unimportant, I guess.
There's no Seven Deadly Sins villains that have mothers to speak of, unless you want to count the fucking, like, Ludo Shiel, who the Supreme Deity is his mom or whatever. We already covered that one. My hero villains, we're getting to this one now. Shigaraki, obviously, he killed his own mom because he couldn't control his quirk. One for All was, yeah.
Not his fault, apparently.
One for All, born in a corpse, right? Like, wasn't that also, like, didn't he also have kind of like a Guts-esque? I don't think she was dead. I think his mom was just, like, really poor.
His quirk also made him dangerous at birth, because his original quirk was the ability to still steal things, right? But he stole the ability to grow bones, right, as a weapon, I think, from his mother.
They kind of moved on pretty quickly from her. Gentle, he has a mom. We know that. We see her. He was applying for, like, hero school, and we have no reason to believe that she isn't still alive because, like, I think Gentle's only, like, in his 30s, maybe? Toga, her mom's...
Yeah.
I think it's up in the air whether or not her mom is dead. It's possible she could have gone back and killed her mom. We just don't know. Yeah, they were very much like, oh, our daughter's a freak because she drinks blood, I guess. And like, yeah, she is, but like, don't say it out loud. Not cool. And then we know Dabi's mom is still alive because Dabi's mom is Todoroki's mom. Spoiler alert, I guess. That's all for My Hero villains, I think. We don't know anything about Spinner. We don't know anything about Twice. We don't know anything. We know that Mr. Compress was from like a line of villains. We only know about his grandfather, I think. And then the only other villains I have on here are Dio. We know his mom died before the story happened. Miranja, we know that her mom was killed by weird racist villagers, I guess. Again, still doesn't justify what she did, by the way, but we don't know if Griffith had like
Not really. It's
sure.
just not important to
And
like
then all the
his
curses are just
story.
curses. They don't have parents in that.
I mean, I think technically, I think there's an implication that Sakuna does was originally human, and they're definitely dead at this point, unless they also became like an evil spirit. Like, there's no reason why they wouldn't be dead. He
That would
was
be very funny
around
though if
from
like
the
Sukuna's
whatever
mom just showed
period.
up and was just like the housewife curse and just like pulled his ear and then like had like a slipper in her hand. He's like, "Stop fucking killing everybody!" Whack.
The ultimate cursed object is a pair of chanclas. His mother's. You can't possibly fight against this. The most powerful cursed object in the world can one-shot this man. For the really big battle shonens like Dragon Ball, right, and anything's in that, like, realm, mothers are just, for the villains especially, irrelevant. Or non-existent. Like, well, because you're fighting against demons, literal gods, or it's lab experiments. Broly had to have had a mother, but we only know about their dad. Probably died in childbirth, if we're being honest. It's fucking Broly. Just random purple cat woman somewhere,
All the angels
most
have a
likely.
father, but not a mother, as far as we know, which probably implies that they were just created.
Yeah, it most likely were created because there are female angels, but they're all siblings.
So I guess on a final sort of note here, moms are kind of get the short end of the stick, but at the same time, I think it's because of how important they are to like a child's sort of life. Because like for instance, you're like in Hajime no Ippo, right? I was gonna say that
Yeah, they're just a support system that
not even like
exists.
being like their lives being in danger, but just sort of like they're unable to like continue doing like regular work is enough for to make the main protagonist kind of just like step out of the story.
They don't need to be at threat of death. They don't need to be being captured or like killed or like tortured or anything. Oh man, my back really hurts. I need help at the fish market or whatever. Yeah, okay, I'll quit. I will quit my entire world champion, belt title chance just to make sure you can, still catch fish, mom.
It's a very good way to make you like the audience or even like the main character really hate a villain. Like I fucking will never forgive Obito or Miranjo for what they did to the main characters. I don't care if Obito fucking gave away his eyes. I don't care if he saved the day in the end of the day. He fucking deprived Naruto from like having a mom, and that's just like unforgivable for me.
Well, I mean, in your life, your mother is more present than your father is, right? If you're chips on the table, your parents were you're an anime, right? You can only have one parent. Would you rather have your mother or your father at this point? For me, it was a similar case as well, but that's because of the job situation I had. But yeah, moms are also we're both
I'm
sons.
curious to see like a female perspective on this and like kind of what they.
Moms and their sons have a very specific dynamic that moms and that like sons and their dads don't have. Right? There's just the puzzle pieces fit differently. I don't know. I've never found my father to be comforting, where my mother has been. Right? By default, there's just something about it. The nature of that is very different. I think it's just we're like starting to dip into the whole like feminine versus masculine type of like energy and rearing, right? That people need in their lives. You need both to an extent, not to like say families without one or the other is worse or better.
Yeah, we're not trying to. We're also not trying to like imply anything with like having a parent versus losing a parent versus non-blood related parent. We're not trying to like say anything here.
Yeah, individual parents can give you the same thing. Same sex families can do the same, but there is something to be said about having a good supporting mother.
If there are any listening to the podcast right now, I'd love to hear your perspective on this whole thing. And like we said, we are keen to make a sort of like a father's version of this episode. So if you have any insights or like recommendations for that, be sure to leave them down in the comments of wherever we decide to post this. Putting the Discord link in the descriptions of our episodes now, so be sure to join that. We really need people in here because it's just the two of us, and then Julius sometimes posting like memes in the general chat. Like we need a little bit more here than just what we got. That's our Mother's Day episode. We did it really early this time, so we'll have a lot more planning for next month's episode. That's all I have to say about that biz. I'm trying to our previous episodes to post onto the YouTube channel right now. And for what it's worth, I've been Alex.
And I'm Jack.
And we will catch you guys next time on the show. And we might have a bit of a surprise for you next time we log on to the old podcasting. Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys.